It is Monday morning. Good morning. But for me, I don't know, I have an issue. Somehow I cannot see. I only see the people on the Miro, but I don't see the picture that I see on my phone. So I'm connected on my phone and I can see it, but on my laptop for a reason.
Me too. I only see the people, not the picture.
Yes, me too.
I can
here.
see resources and links. Like if I scroll on the right, I can see, but I don't see anything else.
This is above towards the upper part of the Miro board, maybe.
I'm zooming out. Let's see. Okay. I had to zoom out a lot. Okay. Right. I found it. Thank you. But I had to zoom out at -7%, 7% to find it. So what do you want us to do here?
The idea is to start waking up on this Monday morning, to start thinking about how these cartoons are making us feel on governance challenges. I see a lot of green dots, a lot of yellow as well. Some inspired people.
The green is defeated, no? So everyone is,
Yeah.
good, no? We start in this positive way.
Okay, but hopefully after this IPG, this will change. Okay, great. I think we can start. It's good that we know a bit of the temperature in the room. We have a lot of defeated and angry people, but then we also have a lot of hopeful and encouraged people, which is also very nice. I will stop sharing here and start sharing the other screen. Okay, let me know. Can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I can see it, at least.
Great. Thank you everyone, and welcome to the first Innovation Practice Group on Governance, Engagement and Collaboration on our first IPG week. Today we already started with a short icebreaker to start waking up on this Monday morning. We're going to go through a quick overview of the IPGs, and then this today's meeting is arranged in a case study roundtable style. So we're going to have 2 case studies presented by 1 expert. And then we're going to discuss these case studies. We're going to break out in 2 rooms in a World Cafe style, where we will discuss about how these case studies present some lessons learned and ideas to apply to our regions when it comes to governance challenges. After that, we will have a plenary reflection and a wrap-up and a quick feedback survey. So to begin with, and to set the ground a bit, we're going to talk a bit about the innovation practice groups. The innovation practice groups are this learning and knowledge exchange mechanism that are led by the regions and the communities. And the main aim is to start sensing not only in the theory level, but also more in a practical way, which solutions and which ways can we address climate adaptation in governance and governance challenges. And the idea of these activities is that they provide this broader perspective on solutions and showcase existing knowledge and mostly foster the exchange between regions and local experts. So the three main objectives are to connect these regions with sources of knowledge and expertise and address specific climate risks, to create communities of innovative adaptation practitioners across Europe, and to provide additional capacity building opportunities, including this exchange and feedback and learning from good practice. The IPGs are not just today, but they already started in October with the kickoff meeting where we started identifying some governance challenges that we will go through next. And even if today we have the first week of IPGs, then we have a second and a third week in June and in September, so stay tuned as well to continue participating in these exchanges. And these identified governance challenges that have been worked with in the IPG's intro session in October are also coinciding with what has been talking about in Deep Dive Governance, which is a group of experts who are debating on climate adaptation and governance challenges. And this is where these cartoons that you were voting on, the first minutes of this meeting, come from. These governance challenges identify where there's lack of integration in governance structures, insufficient collaboration across levels and sectors, lack of ownership and accountability, lack of resilience officers with capabilities, and awareness gaps in planning and strategies. Also, just as an intro mode, you already opened the Miro board and you saw that it's very big. So for a sense of order, the top part of the Miro board is the IPG weeks calendars, which are all of the events during these 3 weeks that I mentioned before. In the middle, where you voted with the dots, it's where we will have this today's session's content. And then in the bottom part, you have something called Wall of Resources. And the idea is that this Miro board will remain open throughout and after the session for us to share P2R resources and links, tools and templates, reports and scientific papers. And mostly, if you want to participate in one of these IPGs sharing your case studies, you can also let us know there. So having said that, we're going to open the floor to our case studies. We're going to listen from 4 people today. First, we're going to have an opening by Lorenzo Cheleri from the Universidad Internacional de Catalunya about trends in climate governance. Then we're going to listen to Nazarena Tesei and Patricia Giacomin from Marche, Italy, about talking about governance integration and how they dealt with it. And lately, we were going to be listening to Constantina Chiardi from Resilient Cities Catalyst, who's going to be talking about political engagement. So I open the floor for Lorenzo.
Here I am. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation and having me. And it's nice to see some colleagues' faces here. I'm delighted to be here. And today I would like just to share with you briefly before navigating with the other colleague the case studies, which will be much more interesting in my opening. Few insights from a large 2 years study we're now concluding about the climate governance barriers and enabling mechanism. So a couple of years ago, we started with 10 cities in an European project to understand which were the common perceptions around the climate governance barriers. And we started, as you may guess, to collect the first insight about technological capacity, data, legal, the classic governance barriers. And our aim was not to understand the barriers we all know about, the barriers you all know about, the barriers you're facing. We were mostly interested in analyzing in depth where these barriers come from and understand the barriers linkages. And we did it with a 70 in-depth interview all over across Europe, only Europe. And I would like to share with you a couple of our latest insights, which I think are interesting. I hope they're interesting. The first one is that, of course, most of the barriers are interrelated, as you may guess. So it's not about technology, capacity, funding, etc., etc. but most of the chain of barriers ended up mainly with two factors, which are purpose, motivation, and or the legal domain, of course. So everything at the end is linked with these two main domains of barriers. But the most interesting result I would like to share with you is that we also started to analyze which are the solutions. So, in EU platform, through many European projects, toolkits and tools for solution for moving forward, etc., etc. We started to analyze those and relate to the barriers and to what city practitioners were reporting to us barriers being. And one of the most concerning result is that most of the solutions are not related with the barriers. So most of the solutions, most of our products, toolkits, etc., etc., are not enabling mechanism for climate governance. They are indeed offering a variety of useful perspective, useful data sets, method for moving forward, things that we know that would help region, city, etc., because these are about design methodology, scenario building, data mining, etc., etc. So I'm not saying that the tools are not useful, most of them, but something I would like to introduce here because I think is useful for our debates around what's working, what's not in terms of governance, is this misalignment between most of the results and proposal and solutions from our research. I'm representing a bit what's the research, let's say, perspective, even though it's most of the time empirical research, but this is concerning. This is most of our, let's say, production based on this empirical research doesn't really fit the needs in which are the enabling mechanism for effective climate governance. We're running now a special issue and have been organizing a couple of international workshops also with academic to try to bridge better the research, the empirical research, the framing of the problem in which led to the solution we will propose, and the practitioner perspective around barriers. And if this is open, as you said, we will contribute to the Maro board and to this group further. But up to now, this is something that I feel useful to share with you all. This misalignment, which is a bit worsening. Is most of the resources are spent to find solutions, and if these solutions are not strictly contributed to enable transformation, then yeah, we can work on solution and innovation and governance as much we want, but most of the time we're not tackling the real problem. Just this, I think that for now I don't want to dig into one case study in particular, and would let the floor to my colleagues to present practical case studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. We will hear more from you also in the wrap-up. So excited to hear how this goes. Then we open the floor for Patricia and Nazarena.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me. Okay. Yeah, so we're, as Lucia already introduced, we are from Marco region, and we are going to explore the issue of governance, integration, and collaboration across different sectors in our case, and in particular for the definition of sustainability and climate policies in Marco region. So we can go to the other slide. Thank you. Okay. So the first thing which we think it's really useful to understand is who we are. We are a middle-sized region on the Adriatic coast of Italy with almost 1.5 million citizens, 5 different provinces and 225 municipalities. The biggest issue we faced in terms of governance is the one you can see settled in the slide, so which is the need to introduce a cross-sector form of work in an environment that is used to work by silos mainly. So we started facing this issue for the definition of a regional strategy of sustainable development, which has been approved in 2021, and then for the definition of a regional plan of adaptation to climate change, which has been approved in February 2025. So how we decided to face this challenge? First of all, we started with this, again, enabling conditions defined within our regional strategy of sustainable development, which include a cross-sectoral and multi-form of governance for the definition and then the implementation of innovative and sustainability-related policies. Can go to the other slide. Thanks. So as you can see, we mainly focused into big pillars, which are the blue one, so the one related to cross-sectoral governance, and the green one, which is the one related to the multi-level and multi-actor forms. For what concerns the cross-sectoral regional governance, as you can already understand, is the one based on the collaboration among different, we can say, offices, different units within a region. This is not something to take for granted, especially in our context, so in a big, huge public context as Italian regions, and in particular in our region. So when it comes to the specific the specific instruments we started to use, we started from this sort of, as you can see from the first point on the top, form of multi-level governance, because the whole structure behind our sustainability policies has been managed by our top managers, and our top regional managers directly ask to other manager at different level to be part of all activities. But it has been also a kind of multi-sector governance because, again, our sector engaged other one, especially for the definition of the regional plan of adaptations, in which we have measures related to specific and different technical sectors. We also managed to somehow reach the institutionalization of these interaction mechanisms. Then the next step is to make it the new normal. We're not already there, but we're working in this direction, hopefully. We're organizing several, and we organized before several training moments on innovative aspects, especially with the support of our regional internal training school. In doing so, we managed to directly engage our colleagues for some co-design activities. We use some multimedia materials, but we also pushed, as you can see from the last blue point, we also pushed for some cross-sectoral performance objectives within our regional activity and organization integrated plan. Since, as I don't know how it works in different European contexts, but in the Italian public administration, employees and managers are actually evaluated starting from the achievement of some performance objectives. So for us, the idea that these performance objectives have been directly, for the first time, connected with sustainability objectives has been the first important achievement. When it comes to the other side, so to the green side, so to the multi-level and multi-actor governance, we can say that some instrument has been used in both aspects. So the one you see at the top, such as webinars, broad discussion table, in which we managed to include also banks, insurance companies, firms, and so on and so forth. And again, multimedia materials. Other instruments have on the contrary, been focused just on the multi-level aspect of governance, so the one related to several administrative actors, in our case, for instance, the region and regional municipalities. One of these has been the agreement between Marco region and the National Association of Italian Municipalities, or different training activities organized by a regional internal training school. For what concerns the engagement of multi-actor governance, so which comprehends civil society, again, firms, and so on, we use this Regional Sustainable Development Forum, in which, due to some activities, and in particular some public meetings, citizens have had the chance to directly meet the regional officers and managers for the discussion and the definition of sustainability measures. And then the collaboration with our scholastic system in the region, and with collaboration of our 5 reuse playrooms, which are in our territory, and introduce the 2030 agenda within their activities for the very first time. We can go on with this. Okay, thanks. So when it comes to our regional plan of adaptation to climate change, which, as I said before, has been approved in February 2025, we needed to shift from a strategy perspective, so which is a broader perspective, with specific measures, competencies, and relation between competencies and actual activities. In doing so, we take into account this long-term framework, which is the one defined by our regional strategy of sustainable development. As you can understand, we highly value the linkage between our regional sustainable development strategy and our adaptation plan. So in doing so, we define short, middle, but also long-term measures within our regional adaptation plan by engaging different actors, both internal from the region and external actors. And at the moment, for what concerns the internal regional actors, different regional structures are cooperating with us for the implementation of plans, measures. We can go on. Okay, so what is happening now, especially due to our participation to Pathway to Resilience? So we are implementing some specific training moments, somehow using the insights and the discussion ideas from Pathway to Resilience, but also the training moments and so on. For instance, on the 4th of March, we organized this training event addressed to our regional colleagues, so to all regional employees, to spread the knowledge about the regional adaptation plan. In doing so, we engaged more than 700 regional officers, which has been a great starting point, at least in our perspective. Additionally, our project within Pathway to Resilience, which is called Market to Resilience, introduced the idea of multiplier municipalities, which are regional municipalities cooperating with us for the mainly for the spread of activities and outcomes for the project, and in particular in order to engage and start collaboration with other municipalities in our territory. Actually, we managed also to engage additionally the other 2 municipalities of the territory other than the multiplier ones. We hope to continue using this instrument, this spreading and support instrument, also in other governance-related activities. So using the first outcomes, and we expect to do more in the future, of this other project you can see mentioned on the slide, which is Climax, another Horizon project we are part of. And we're starting just internally, but we're starting to discuss about data exchange with other regional unities, but also with external actors, especially with municipalities, in order to somehow make stronger the collaboration and the multi-level governance we're trying to introduce in the territory. So we can go to this, thanks. So what are our future, we can say, steps and desires? First of all, we are going to review our sustainability strategy in 2025. So we're going to somehow try to use the insights and visions and also somehow activities when it's possible introduced within the Pathway to Resilience approach, which has been very innovative according to our idea. We're trying, again, thanks to the Pathway to Resilience support and to specific capacity building moments, we're trying to define possible futures for our region in terms of also climate realistic scenarios and implementation, but also for the future review of the plan in 3, the middle term review, and in 6 years. We're also trying to implement and better explore at the regional level visioning and other innovative instruments, such as strategic foresight and so on, in order to implement the measures we already define, but also to somehow solve some or face at least some challenges we are exploring also in terms of governance and collaborations. So that's all from our side. You can find our contacts here, my contact and one of my colleague Patrizia Giacomin. You can also find our website with the approved regional plan of adaptation and other contacts and news about our work. Thank you.
Nazarena. Thank you. That was very insightful. Looking forward for the breakout rooms. And now I introduce you to Konstantina.
Hello. Shall I take the floor?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, great. So hello, everyone. It's also good to see familiar places, and mostly it's a great pleasure to be part of this group. As both Lorenzo and Natasha said, in reality, it is the governance mechanisms that are the key enablers to success when we're talking about transformative action for resilience planning. And I am more than confident that Pathways to Resilience does provide an incredible platform and builds a community that can help us advance in that direction in Europe. I have had the opportunity to work on the issues of building resilience and engaging senior political stakeholders since 2015, when I joined at the time the 100 Resilience Cities program of the Rockefeller Foundation. And before, I was working as an advisor to the mayor of Athens for for European affairs, and I was in charge of the urban agenda. And the reason I'm mentioning this is not to share my CV really, but to share with you as a starting, as an opening line, let's say, for my intervention, which has to do with, let's say, political stakeholder engagement. And also the second part is to share a few thoughts around the idea of a transfer. What do we need to do? And if we need to do anything around changing local and regional administrations, what are the mechanisms that we could discuss and we might need? And as I said, the reason I shared my let's say previous experience is because what I have seen time and again, and in a way both the previous two speakers, I believe, touched upon, is the fact that there is a major disparity between, in most cases, I would say, between the mayor's offices and the regional governor's offices, the political ecosystem and the non-political ecosystem. And of course, we can discuss, and I already invite that in the in the breakout rooms what are that there are indeed differences, and it's not the same, and we're not even moving in the same direction. But there is one element that holds truth, that unless these key major decision makers are engaged in this kind of transformative processes from the outset, then it is very hard to actually quickly implement changes and adjust. So we are facing this contradiction that while we, and the weeds are collective weeds, us, it's practitioners, it's consultants, it's seasoned and senior or not so senior necessarily, but active administrators, some political stakeholders, we use this kind of language of chains. As Lorenzo says, which is the second factor, we have tools in our hands, we have mechanisms, whether these are framework programs like Pathways to Resilience, whether these are solutions, but then I pose the question, to what problems, right? And we also have the tangible big challenges that we see every day as citizens and as actors. What we were talking 10 years ago that will come has already come, in my opinion. It has arrived. The change, like if you ask ChatGPT, I'm based in Athens, Resilient Cities has offices in New York and Athens, but if you ask ChatGPT today, what is the expected temperature in the city of Athens in the next 5 years, it will already give you the changes that are expected. It's just ChatGPT. I mean, it's not, for me, it's not necessarily the master, knowledge enabler, but you can really know that the changes are here. So when you have this kind of 3-dimension, this admission that without the political engagement at the top level, you cannot really succeed in transformative action, no matter the tools, which is a second admission that we have tools, we have mechanisms, that we don't necessarily know what we're trying to solve for. And this is where our resilience strategy plays a key role. And thirdly, we know that the problems are here, the challenges are here. And in Europe, they vary and they're different. But if we think of the current political reality, the way we will deal with them is unfortunately, yes, massively affected by the level of political engagement and what happens globally even. So if we take these 3 axes, then when we're talking about, if I bring it down to something more tangible, which is our work here at Pathways to Resilience, and the fact that what we are trying to do is not just build yet another strategy, but we have an opportunity, as we are working here in Greece, for example, with Ithaca and Skiathos, we have an opportunity to use the fact that we have these deliverables in order to enable a wave of change in those local administrations, recognizing that the levels that as a community, as P2R, we have major cities that we're working with, major regions like the case study we heard before. We have smaller islands, but yet we do see, and we have seen it over the years, this kind of similarity across these 3 challenges, that nowadays we see a common recognition that the problem is here, a common understanding that there are different sizes of solutions available, and this admission that we need the political stakeholders. So how do we do that? And these are some teasers. I would say there are 4 principles here. First of all, if I now, let's say, put the hat on of the external advisor, as we are, Resilience Cities Catalyst, let's say working with Climate Change Hub here in Greece and the LIAMEP with Skiathos and Ithaca. One requirement, I would say, is to understand local reality, aim to understand, and we have the mechanisms, let's say this amazing, the fact that we have to do this baseline analysis. So one is, as external stakeholders, to understand the reality, respect the reality, but not go with the flow. So one key mechanism here is to really believe, and I'm using these words consciously, that we have to believe that we are about to, we are part of a system of change. So unless we actually believe that as stakeholders, that we have potentially privileged access to additional resources, because we are not the administrators. So this is our job, right? So we have those access to those resources. We have an understanding, let's say, what is scenario planning, what is strategic foresight, which necessarily maybe the regions or the administrators or the political stakeholders do not have this understanding, but they have a very good understanding of what is happening now, here and there in their own environment. And they will always speak about their own problems, the key challenges, which we know, and of course they will say what they're planning, because it's not that we're not entering a void. So understanding this kind of reality, respecting it, but not going with the flow. This is what it means, understanding the reality, understanding and mapping what is happening on the ground, what is their view. Yes?
Constantina, do you think we could wrap up in a minute for time?
Yes, sorry, already I had 10 minutes. So I will say the 4 principles then, and then we can discuss them more. So one is understanding the reality, but which means what I just said, kind of capturing what's happening, but proposing, not be afraid to propose and speak directly to the mayor's offices about new solutions, try to show what is possible. Secondly, provide a vision, but find the right words about it. So there are maybe, they're very tired about the language of visioning. So adjusting this to strategic foresight, to the words that we heard before about climate realistic scenarios, bringing to the picture this kind of foresight can be a good wording that can change, that can bring a lot of differences. Then the third one is to inspire, which I mentioned before, inspired using not just case studies, but if you have the previous 2, let's say, engagement kind of bullets, then you can inspire by showing what is possible and identifying who are the right, let's say, on the ground, inside those cities, inside those regions, who are the allies in this process, and go with them. And then fourthly, don't forget what is real, which is related to the other 3 points, that the challenges are real, the problems are real, but also real in terms of interests. And this is the last point I wanted to kind of close with, and we can discuss more, that the resilience strategy or a resilience officer, if they're doing this amazing, innovative, visionary, stuff and strategy building and stakeholder engagement, if we fail to engage those who actually have power, and they're not necessarily just the politicians. This is why we need the mayors in the picture, the governors. There are investments taking place. There are big investors. There are other stakeholders, which is literally the meaning of the word stakeholders, not the general kind of broad public, but actually those who affect what is happening in the region and what will happen. They need to be on the table. But if we believe that we are driving a change, if we work on identifying local allies and providing a vision, if we understand the local reality but provide different options, then we will be able to work together in a very tangible and powerful way. And this is what I would say, and we can discuss it, political stakeholders need. They need to understand that what we're doing is not just another strategy, just another project, but because we respect and understand the local reality, because we have the local and global connections and understand what is possible for the future, then we provide an actual pathway which speaks to give them power to negotiate more. And this is where I will close, and we can discuss it more. Thank you.
Thank you, Constantina. Yes, the idea is now that we go into the breakout rooms from the World Cafe. I will quickly walk you through how this will work. Each participant will participate in one breakout room on 2 rounds. So in the first round, you're going to have 2 expert moderators, and in the second one, other 2. Participants stay in the same breakout rooms, and the experts will switch. And the idea is that in each round, it's 20 minutes to discuss some lines that are in the Miro board about how these case studies can relate to your regional realities. And then each participant will have 5 minutes to do an individual debrief also in the Miro board. So with this, I think we can start. We'll stop sharing.
I hope you had quite some fruitful discussions and also took advantage of our case studies and our case leaders being present in the rooms. In this moment now, I will ask maybe Nazarena and Constantina to give some highlights from the discussions that we've heard in the breakout rooms. So just 2 minutes each, please, if it can be, to be super quick. And I will give the floor to Nazarena first.
Thank you so much, Luca. Yes, to briefly sum up, the main the discussion we had in the breakout rooms was mainly about challenges. So actually not so much about possible instruments, but we mostly focus on challenges. The most important ones are the one related to the engagement of other internal sectors within administrations, but also the need to politically engage our representatives and to engage also civil society. In this aspect, we directly understood from our experience, but also from others one, that we need different engagement instruments for different levels of civil society and to different social groups. For instance, we have this problem with young people, university students, we're not reaching them properly. Actually, they're doing, but not enough. And another important idea which emerged from the discussion is the need to try to integrate top-down and bottom-up processes. So starting maybe from the political and managerial will, but taking into account all the insights, ideas, and suggestions coming from public discussions. I can say.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Yeah, and also good because I saw that also in your room you took quite some notes. I guess also Mariana was there supporting. We will in any case sum up all these ideas and challenges also for inspiring the next steps in this IPG and in our activities on governance. I will give the floor to Constantina now to sum up the discussions in our breakout room.
Yes, we tried to connect. Basically, we recognized that building a strategy or engaging, let's say, into transformative processes is meaningless without the politicians, fundamentally.
You're muted, Constantina.
Sorry, I think something weird happened because I saw myself twice. So I was going to say again, so we started from the recognition, which is the purpose in a way of our conversations, that processes are not very meaningful without the political kind of support. And there are also challenges to understand, to create common understanding between what the so-called kind of interested parties, stakeholders, the broad public, which is very, however, important in order to create alliances for our process. So we used different examples from different regions and with varied sizes as to, well, we acknowledge that one of the challenges is how to align within a region different mayors and also kind of political commitments, and whether they're like levers that we can use to do that, like, for example, approving a strategy in a formal way. What is our starting point, whether we have departments, like where do we belong, basically, when we're implementing a process is a really important starting point that affects the process itself of building a resilience strategy. And we also try to reflect on the potential solutions or kind of small instruments fundamentally that they could lead us to creating a shared understanding and having more power, which is creating, using the processes that we have in place to have a strong understanding of the real life situations, try to understand the local interests and connect them to kind of broader visions, maybe consider using different what is called kind of tools and mechanisms that we may have in our places, like agenda setting workshops, stakeholder engagement methodologies, but to make them meaningful once again. So we're trying to kind of connect in our conversations, and this is where I will end, the theoretical challenges to the practical, kind of to making them practical and meaningful. And this is like a way to maybe think of, visioning and common visioning as to everyday reality, which we didn't really talk about, but it was kind of implied, I would say, to our conversation. And we have a lot of things written down as well, the thoughts and the elements. We were not very talkative, I must say.
But it's yeah, it's good also that we have some basis in any case to stimulate future discussions. So also to understand a bit better where the conversation can go next. And just to close on the experts' reflection, let's say in the case study reflection, Lorenzo, you were a bit in this discussion and also looking at the full board. So maybe I will give you the floor for other 2 minutes conclusions from your side.
Yeah, thanks, Luca. Yeah, I've been here and there. Maybe I could share with you, as I didn't, an example from the beginning. Since I see that from the many posts, one of the major like eagle view problem that I see is how to move forward and mobilize change, no? Mobilize action, sharing, understanding these needs, but then finding these mechanisms for mobilize action. So there are many mechanisms to mobilize actions. One interesting, for example, since nobody talked about justice, for instance, climate justice. So many funding and programs tackling resilience, vulnerability, implied indirectly gentrification and unjust social outcomes. So there is also this climate challenge really threatening our social and economic system about how to embed justice into climate action and resilience. So there is one example from Catalonia. I don't know whether there is somebody from Catalonia here. I don't know. But I was positively surprised about that. So a couple of years ago, the regional government introduced a enabling mechanism for creating and pushing a transformation in the let's say economy. It's not really economy. It's a little part of the economy, but it's a shift in the way job market and the local economies works, because they open in every province. They set a fund, of course, and then they open something called Ateneu Colaborativo, which means collaboration, let's say university, Ateneu. And that fund opened a special office for pushing and boosting the creation of cooperative. They wished to boost and push people to form cooperatives. So they opened one office for each capital city, the 4 provinces in the region. And in this office, anybody can just go and receive active training about how to open a cooperative. And if you were opening a cooperative tackling some societal but specifically climate challenge, then you would access funding, dedicated funding about climate change implementation. And within this process of boosting the creation of cooperatives, they also gave space for creating what's called second level cooperative, meaning they open a call every 3 years to the creation of cooperatives. So they would give money to the creation of a cooperative which manage many different cooperatives, so specific ones, that then would align and synergize their different perspective, more from the engineering, architecture, or consultancy for social processes or community building, sense of place, etc., etc. If those specific skills and capacity from different cooperative create a joint work plan, that they could seek this funding. And it's already been 4 years now that this program is working in whole Catalonia. So if you look, the numbers are peanuts, of course, in terms of regional funding, right? We're speaking about a few millions, right? Dozen of millions for the whole region for many years, which is nothing. Still, if you look to the impacts that you generated, then many small studio enterprises or student associations started to take it seriously because it's for free. And just with a couple of salaries, you have full-time a person in an office that actually is delivering constantly training for opening cooperative. Opening cooperative is like a startup incubator, right? But you're not just incubating startup for profit. You're changing a bit and inspiring a change of mindset in the way the economy should work on the ground. So just to share with you what's a good practice of tackling climate action in a very open-ended way, just enabling the potential, since I've been seeing many postings about how to reach the young population, how to engage stakeholders, I think that's Konstantin also mentioned in one of the roundtable the issue of stakeholder engagement and how to make it effective and the contact with the ground, etc., etc. I think it's also important to understand what's called intentional communities. We have a lot of intentional community, meaning not just people on the ground wishing to do something. Intentional community is Friday for Future or whatever, right? A community which is also online, believing in something. There are many intentional communities that in a moment, if you can synergize with them and put them in contact with some few players on the ground that believe in something, but they have not a critical mass to ask for anything. Those intentional community can be enabling mechanism because they create the multi-level critical mass for pushing for any action or lobbying for something. So overall, yeah, I think, and I have many other case studies, but I think that the 2 minutes already taken 8, right, Luca?
Yes.
But I wish, yeah, just to give some practical example about enabling mechanism. But I think that's I guess the direction we should drive the change, trying to find this mechanism.
It's super useful. Maybe also, Lorenzo, if you have a link to have more information,
Yeah, sure.
put it on the chat or also pass it to me, and I will make sure that this is shared with the group. Thanks a lot. Just looking at the time, we need to close. But before that, I have just a couple of announcements. The first, if you want to participate in other IPGs in the next sessions, as you heard at the beginning, there will be more. There will be other IPGs during the full week. You can do so through the registration links that you find on Miro. So on the upper part, when you have like the week 1 agenda, you can have all of them. A second point is about the next IPG on governance, which will be on Friday, 6th of June. So you can block it already on your calendar. This will happen in the afternoon this time. We will also share a link with you for registering to this session in the next few weeks. Last but not least, if you want to be a speaker, if you have an interesting case study, if you have some priority topics that you want us to address, you can reach out to us. Please remember also that on Miro there is a specific link, but it's also been shared on the chat. Where you can basically suggest your topic and availability to be a speaker. So please do so. Last but not least, I said it already, but actually this is the very last. We are having a very short survey for you that will pop up, I think, on Zoom. If you can answer these questions, how useful were the case studies that were provided, are relevant for your work and interest. Yeah, you have a few questions. Please just select your answer and yeah, you can vote there. I think we can take maybe 3 minutes for this and then we will close.
In the meanwhile, Luca and others, I pasted in the chat a link explaining all the Ateneus Cooperatives, and I'm sure ChatGPT and other software will translate everything instantly.
Thanks, Lorenzo. Yeah. That's the good part of digitalization. One of the good parts.
Lorenzo, if you're okay, I'm also going to share this link in the resources or tools part of the Miro board. So for next session, we're also going to keep track of all the information that have been shared.
Good. When you are done with voting, you can also go take some rest and exit the meeting. Thanks a lot for joining us today. And I guess I will meet you very soon in the next sessions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
the invitation.
Bye-bye.